a WikiVidi documentaries production. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Enjoy. Mark Chopper Read. Mark Brandon Chopper Read was an Australian convicted criminal, gang member and author. Read wrote a series of semi-autobiographical fictional crime novels and children's books. The 2000 film Chopper is based on his life. Early life. Read was born on 17 November 1954 to a former Army and Korean War veteran father and a mother who was a devout Seventh-day Adventist. He was placed in a children's home for the first 5 years of his life. He grew up in the Melbourne suburbs of Collingwood, Thomastown, Fitzroy, and Preston. He was bullied at school, claiming that by the age of 15 he had been on the losing end of several hundred fights, and that his father, usually on his mother's recommendation, beat him often as a child. It was also revealed that Read had been molested as a child. Read was made a ward of the state by the age of 14 and was placed in several mental institutions as a teenager, where, he later claimed, he was subjected to electroshock therapy. Criminal activity. When he was still young, Read was already an accomplished street fighter and the leader of the Surrey Road Gang. He began his criminal career by robbing drug dealers, based in massage parlors in the Prahran area. He later graduated to kidnapping and torturing members of the criminal underworld, often using a blowtorch or bolt cutters to remove the toes of his victims as an incentive for them to produce enough money so that Read would leave them alive. Read spent only 13 months outside prison between the ages of 20 and 38, having been convicted of crimes including armed robbery, firearm offences, assault, arson, impersonating a police officer and kidnapping. While in Pentridge Prison's H Division in the late 1970s, Read launched a prison war. His gang, dubbed the Overcoat Gang, because they wore long coats all year round to conceal their weapons, were involved in several hundred acts of violence against a larger opposing gang during this period. Around this time, Read had a fellow inmate cut both of his ears off in order to be able to leave H Division temporarily. While in his early biographies, Read claimed this was to avoid an ambush by other inmates. By being transferred to the mental health wing, his later works state that he did so to win a bet. The nickname, Chopper, was given to him long before this, from a childhood cartoon character. Read was ambushed and stabbed by members of his own gang in a sneak attack when they felt that his plan to cripple every other inmate in the entire division and win the gang war in one fell swoop was going too far. Another theory is that Jimmy Luffnan, a longtime friend of Red, with Patrick Blue Barnes, wished to benefit from a contract put on Read's head by the Painters and Dockers Union. Read lost several feet of intestine in the attack. At the time, Read was serving a 16.5-year sentence after attacking a judge in an effort to get Luffnan released from prison. Luffnan later died in the Jika fire at Pentridge in 1987. In 1992, Red was convicted of shooting Sidney Michael Edward Collins in the chest. The incident took place in Read's car, which was in the driveway of Collins' residence at Evandale, Tasmania. The bullet was recovered from the back seat of the vehicle, and Collins named Read as the shooter. Pleading not guilty, Read was found guilty of grievous bodily harm, a downgraded charge from attempted murder, and sentenced as a dangerous criminal to indefinite detention. He walked free early in 1998. In 2002, Read was again questioned over the disappearance of Sidney Collins, who is still on the Australian missing person list after going missing in suspicious circumstances. Read admitted to murdering Collins in his last broadcast interview before death on the Australian 60 Minutes programme aired on the 20th of October 2013. Read expressed no remorse for killing Collins, alleging he was stupid for being shot by Red on 2 separate occasions with Collins' own gun. Read claimed to be involved in the killing of 19 people and the attempted murder of 11 others. In an April 2013 interview with the New York Times, Reed said, "Look, honestly, I haven't killed that many people, probably about 4 or 7, depending on how you look at it." In the TV series Tough Nuts, Reed also spoke of his mid-1980s to early 1990s rivalry with Alphonse Gangitano. Reed explained that he had a disagreement with Gangitano regarding an elderly neighborhood hero whom Gangitano admired. It is alleged by Reed that Gangitano burst open the toilet cubicle door with a number of associates and began a serious assault on Reed, who made his escape, but not before spreading his feces into Gangitano's face. Other activities. In 2001, Reed was featured in an advertisement on behalf of the Pedestrian Council of Australia warning of the dangers of drunk driving. Reed is seated at a kitchen table undoing his shirt and, while pointing to the numerous scars and injuries on his body, says, in 2005, Reed embarked on a tour of Australia performing a series of shows titled I'm Innocent with Mark Jacko Jackson, and later toured Sydney in a stage show with a new co-star, former detective Roger the Dodger Rogerson, and throughout Australia with comedian and friend Doug Chappell. Reed even made regular guest appearance on Doug Chappell's Melbourne International Comedy Festival show in 2008 called Comics Live in Your Lounge, where the two of them would tell stories on stage together. In 2006, Reed appeared in another commercial speaking out against domestic violence. On the 13th of March 2006, he released a rap album titled Interview with a Madman. He also appeared in the 2002 Australian comedy Trojan Warrior. Reed allowed use of his name to a beer called Chopper Heavy. The beer is produced in Rutherglen, Victoria, a town associated with Australia's most notorious outlaw, Ned Kelly. He made the headlines again on the 15th of December 2008, after being questioned by police about an alleged incident in Johnson Street, Collingwood. Reed was attacked by a tomahawk-wielding man he said he had never met before. He said, "I ran to the panel beaters and grabbed a pipe. I said, 'Come here now,' and he jumped into a car and pissed off." Reed suffered a minor injury to his arm after being hit with the blunt end of the tomahawk. Reed was questioned by detectives at Richmond Police Station before being released without charge. His alleged attacker has not been found. Author. Reed was an author of crime novels, selling more than 500,000 copies of his works. In later years he made recordings of voice narratives which also sold well. Reed's first book, Chopper, From the Inside, was collected from letters he sent while incarcerated in Melbourne's Pentridge Prison and published in 1991. It contains tales and anecdotes of his criminal and prison exploits. Further biographical releases followed in a similar vein. With the advent of Chopper 5, Pulp Fiction, Reed began writing fictional tales based on his experiences of criminal life. Attempts were made to ban a children's book written by Reed titled Hooky the Cripple. Public commentary and political views. Reed frequently appeared on radio and television talk shows to promote his books. He had a column in Ralph magazine, was regular columnist for Zoo Weekly and the British FHM magazine. Reed's success in selling tales of his criminal past has prompted widespread calls to amend the Federal Proceeds of Crime Bill, which confiscates the proceeds of drug deals and robberies, to also apply to indirect proceeds of crime, including book sales, TV appearances, and the like. Reed described his political beliefs as to the right of Genghis Khan. In his book Chopper 2, he lists Bruce Ruxton and American conservative G. Gordon Liddy as his political heroes. Film. The 2000 film Chopper, starring Eric Bana as Reed, was based on stories from Reed's books and independent research, leading to events portrayed on screen that somewhat contradicted Reed's version. For instance, Reed claimed in early books to be vehemently against drugs, but the film portrays him as a casual drug user. In response, Reed stated, "You have to have tried something to be able to say you hate it." Underbelly. Reed was featured twice in the Australian true crime series Underbelly. He first appeared in the 5th episode of the show's second series, Underbelly, A Tale of Two Cities, where was played by Renato Fabretti. Reed later appeared as the lead character in the show's 7th season, Underbelly Files, Chopper. The two-part miniseries focused on Reed's attempts at going straight after his stint in Pentridge Prison. as well as the beginning of his writing career and his feud with Sid Collins and underworld figure Alphonse Gangitano. The cast featured Aaron Jeffrey as Reed, Vince Colosimo as Alphonse Gangitano, Michael Caton as Reed's father Keith, Todd Lassance as Sid Collins, Zoe Ventura as Reed's first wife Mary Ann Hodge, and Della Scott Lynch as Reed's lifelong friend and eventual second wife Margaret Cassar. Personal life. Reed married Australian Taxation Office employee Mary Ann Hodge in 1995 while imprisoned in Risdon Prison in Tasmania for the shooting of Sidney Collins. The couple had one son, Charlie. They divorced in 2001. On the 19th of January 2003, he married longtime friend Margaret Cassar. They had one son, Roy Brandon. Health issues and death. Reed contracted hepatitis C during his time in prison, possibly contracted by using shared razor blades. In March 2008 he revealed he only had 2 to 5 years to live and required a liver transplant. However, he refused to agree to the procedure, stating that while a transplant would save him, he did not want one when an organ could be provided to someone else. In April 2012, Reed was diagnosed with liver cancer. He underwent surgery in July 2012 to remove tumors from his liver, and in late September 2013 he was admitted to Melbourne Private Hospital in failing health. Reed died of the illness on the 9th of October 2013, aged 58, in Parkville, Victoria. Brought to you by WikiVidi Documentaries. Would you like to know more?